Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Guide. I'm with the SEO 411, and I decided that this would be a good way to end 2020 and talk about local search and why it's important and why we need to know what it is and how to use it and how best to make things work for us. So before we go any further, let me share my screen here. And I need to get Safari.
You want to tell them how the Q&A works as well?
I guess, I don't even see the Q&A screen here. So hold on a minute. Wait up a minute. If you have a question, just put the question in the box. I guess that's the best way to. There is a Q&A box. I see it here. I'm sorry.
Yes, and Beth will answer them along the way. So
yes, I do, because I have to answer them along the way. I can't answer them a lot of the times I have to do it. So anyway, all right. So we're talking about local search tonight, and this is a really big topic. Everybody that owns a local small business needs to participate in the program. So let me first define what we're looking at first and what we are doing. So if I wanted to say coffee near me. Okay. You notice you get this nice little map that tells you what the closest coffee shops are to where you are, how far away they are, and what your options. In this case, it's a restaurant, so they give you dine in, takeout, delivery, what you can do and what you can't do. So everybody should be targeting to be on this map display. If I do SEO Houston, you'll see a map comes up, right? So we have a map here, and it gives you some places on the map. There is an ad, so that's always in green. And anything past that, they give you a more spread out version over here on the, if you expand it, so they'll give you more versions. The other thing is, you have the organic locals here. I'm going to be talking mostly about the maps and the Google My Business. And what I will tell you is that I've had some great success here lately. And maybe I should say the customers have had some great success by having a strong website with a strong local presence. They're actually able to get traffic to their business and not have to spend, AdWords money to do that. So I think this is a very important, even the newest of the new businesses, when you put these things together, it starts to help make businesses get some traffic, get customers, and get seen. But you got to take care of the things that drive this. So we're going to start at the top. Because there's some elements that we have to make sure that we take care of. And I'm going to kind of give them to you in a percentage way. There's going to be several different ways to look at this and several different ways to handle it. But the very most important thing is we need to start about how do I get on the map? So the very first question we said, I have a small business, but it's strictly online. When I try to get listed, it wants me to include my address. They have service areas now, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. But let's come in here. So what you do is you go to google.com/business. And it will ask you if you have a business. It'll ask you where your business is. In my case, I'm going to sign in. I'm already signed in. And we're going to kind of go through what we need to do to take care of this. All right. So once you set your initial count up, you'll have to do your verification. And then the next thing you need to do is to come in here and start to fill in the important pieces. Okay. So the important pieces become living under info. So you're going to come in here and your first thing you're going to do is hit info, and how you answer the questions on this screen start to define your business, what you do and how you do it. Okay. It's very important. And let me just say this clearly. The name, address, and phone number still is a driving force on this. And you need to make sure that you are consistent what your name, your address, and your phone number is around the internet. I'll show you how to check it here in a second. But once you get in here, you put your business name in. This categories button is extremely important. You want to pick as many primary categories and secondary categories that you can that are relevant. You don't need to spin out into things that you don't do or don't go too far. If you notice, I have mine limited to web design, web hosting, digital internet marketing, and marketing agency. I didn't go through and say, desktop support or graphic design. These are things that we do, but I didn't want to dilute the pool. So I made sure I stayed pretty focused in what I wanted to cover with this profile, with internet marketing being the number one thing. However, if you're a lawyer, a good thing to do is to go in. There's like a whole bunch of, you should have up to 10 different categories as a lawyer. You can have 7 to 10. So you would have lawyer, you'd have attorney, you would have the disciplines that you service, locations that you service. So there is more for somebody that's like a lawyer than there would be more than for somebody like me to do what I'm doing. So that would be the first set of things that we would need to accomplish here. So make sure that when you do it, you do a good job and put that all together right. So, and we have a visitor. So hold on a minute. Let me get said visitor. Come here, visitor. Okay. Sorry about that. She comes to every class and sits in front of the camera and watches what we're doing. So the next one says, how many categories do you suggest? Gabriel, it depends on what kind of business you have. So if you're a florist, you're only going to have a limited number of things. If you're a lawyer, you may have 7 to 10. If you're a dentist, you may have more. So it kind of depends, but don't spam it just for the sake of spamming it. I think that's the best way to say it. Some people go overboard in it. It's better to stay focused than it is to try to put so much out there that you qualify in so many different arenas that Google can't really get a foothold into what you do. What else I would say is that whatever you have here, your website should support. So you see, I have web design, web hosting, internet marketing, right? If you go out to the website, my computer, here we go. I was like, my computer keyboard is not working here. I can't even spell tonight. Okay. If you notice, those categories match almost exactly what I have up here, which is internet marketing, digital agency, web design services. And then I have, and actually this is going to change after the first of the year to web hosting. I right now I have it listed as IT, but I'm going to change that out to web hosting after the first of the year. I support, my website actually supports the items that I put here. If your website doesn't support it, please don't put it there. If you don't mention it on your website, please don't put it there. It's basically, these things are kind of checked one against each other. So you want to make sure that there's a consistency between the categories you put and that your website basically backs up what you put. Now, some people say, well, I don't have a website. Well, that kind of makes it a little bit harder for you then, because you're going to have in a situation that you may or may not have the way to support yourself, because you really, to be most successful, you need to have a website to counterbalance this up against. All right, so the next thing you'll know is, notice is I have my address and I picked my Kingwood office. The bad thing about Kingwood is, although it's in the city limits of Houston and I vote for the mayor and I pay city of Houston taxes, Google thinks that I am not in the city of Houston. So I think I'm going to send Google my tax bill and let them fight for it for me. Because they don't consider. So from a proximity stake, I'm kind of far. The problem is with proximity, they look for how far away from you are from where you do business. Now there's some ways around that, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But proximity is still kind of high. And if I ask where Houston is, to them, the center of Houston is Texas Avenue. That's how they look at that, is right in the heart of downtown there. And that's where they start the epicenter outward. So it's hard to make an argument that I'm in Houston when I'm 25 miles up the road in Kingwood. And that's how they kind of look at this. So we need to make sure we're kind of succinct in our service areas. So what else you have is you can go ahead and put in expanded areas here. And actually, I can go in and I can put Kingwood. I think I can put Kingwood. Yes, I can put the Woodlands because we service that. I can put in Katy because we service that. I can put in Heights because we service that area. I can expand those service areas. Although it cleared them all out on me, so I don't know why I did that. But so I can pick all these places that I want to put here for us to say that we service. The problem that this is going to become a little bit is I'm going to have to substantiate what I'm saying here. I'm going to have to substantiate in behavior, and I'll explain that to this. Okay, so this one says, do I have to have a Google email address attached to this account? The answer is no. This one is actually logged in as me. If you see, this is my email address. This is the account that I have it tied to. So no, you don't have to tie it to a Google business, big business email account. So there's that one. And there are not Gmail accounts. I don't know what that means, but no, you don't have to have a Gmail account to do this. All right. So, I'll talk about the way to expand this footprint here in just a second. Okay, make sure you fill your hours in. Make sure you do your for your short name for your profile because that's important. If you take appointments, make sure that you have your booking appointment link in your list here. And we take appointments online. We have our booking address right here. If we have any specialty hours, you can put them in here. I don't know why I singled out 410. It must have been the last time I talked about this and made an example. But you can put in any specialty hours that you have. We're open 24/7 pretty much, so I don't usually go in and put any special times and dates in there. So just so we get through that. Make sure your phone number is consistent. This one says, does the short name need to be the same as what we have in Facebook? No. In fact, Google hates Facebook. So you're almost probably better not to do that just because really what it should be is the name of your company. You see mine says SEO 411. I'm not adding to it. I'm not subtracting from it. That's the name of my company. That's what I use. So don't get too fancy here. Unless you, for some reason you want to, but I just keep it simple because that's going to be the best way to do that. Make sure you put your web address in, and make sure that you're consistent in how you do it. So it's either www or no www, but be consistent in whatever you do. I purposely use www everywhere I go because on some level, when you put the www in, it knows that it's a link and you're immediately hyperlinked to your website. So I use that consistently and always include the www. The other thing you'll notice, and I can't believe I let this go. We've had this so long. It's HTTPS, not HTTP. So I just made that quick change there. And it says it's under review. I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem. Okay. For a website, does it make good sense to use a Google website? No, please don't do that. That's like the worst thing you can do. Or own your Google or your own for Google's crawling and SEO related items. Okay. Yeah. You want to use your own website. You don't want to use Google's website because then it's not yours, it's theirs. And you're putting time and energy into their business. You need to build your own and you want Google to rank yours. You're a brand, you need to act like a brand and not do it on their platform. Now, what I will say is if you look on their website, I think I have a little crazy, I did put a little one in here. and I just let it auto-populate. I don't think it's ever showed up anywhere, but it's a way for them to just kind of keep everything all in one space. So I did push the button and let it create the website. And that website is live, but the reality is nobody ever sees it. It's not, I don't know that it's helping or hurting in any way, shape, or form, but this is, this is what's out there. And you notice the web address is business site. It's not SEO 411. So I wouldn't necessarily get involved with this. I filled it out just because it made a link and it gave us some credit, but I'm not using this as our website at all under any circumstances ever. All right. So let's don't do that. It doesn't, you need to put the time and money into your own situation. All right, let's come back to here. If you have products, put the products up. Services are different. So make sure that if you have services, you put them under the services. I had somebody today put products under the services under the products. I guess you could make the argument that they're products, but they really were services. So if it's a service, we need to call it a service. We need to say what it is, and we need to fill that out right. You notice I have our services here. Let's see if I expand it out. I have them here for what we have, and they've removed some. See, they went in and said I couldn't have social media, and they took it off, which I appreciate the fact that they don't want that there, but I don't know. But they did take off the social media off of that. So they did that themselves. And then here's some of the other ones that I have listed under the web hosting parts of the business. So make sure that you fill this in and you do all of this, and you're thorough when you do it, because it lets them know. It gives Google an idea of what you think. So understand that you're filling this in for a customer, but you're also filling it in for Google, because they look at this and they use this like by a lot to make sure that they know what your business is about. It used to be name, address, phone number, and reviews were all that mattered. And if you had the right name, address, and phone number, and you had the right number of reviews, they were going to rank you, and that was going to be the end of it. And that is not that way anymore. I'm going to talk about reviews in a second here. But how you fill this in is important. Like, I'm a woman-owned business, so I put that there. That's how I did that. I don't have a public building. If I did, I could say, I guess I could put this on, like, for health and safety for COVID. We require appointments, we're all temperature checked. I mean, I'm actually going to do this. All right, appointment required, mask, but I'm going to hit apply. Okay, so they put that before. It used to say, did I have access to a wheelchair? So they've enhanced that. I haven't been in here in a while. So let's put that in there. So I went ahead and marked you can do it online, you can do it on site. So I went ahead and marked all of those. They've changed that. It really was wheelchair enabled and capable, and it's not that way anymore. So, and then the other most important thing is this box here that you write about your business. And if you see what I wrote about this business, you'll see that I use keywords throughout this, but I didn't stuff them in there. I made them make sense, and I made my sentences make sense, so that I could get the most amount of words in here that handle what we do, but also do it in a way that made sense to the end user if they read it, that I actually speak English and can write English and can handle that well. And then to make sure whatever day you open that you put that there. This is probably one of your biggest friends here, where it says add photos. And I'm going to explain that really quickly. So when you do add photos, they are taking the metadata off the photo and off of where you are. And they're utilizing that to balance out where you say you are. So if I say I'm in Katy and I never take a picture in Katy, am I truly in Katy? Okay. And the thing is, if you notice, this picture was taken at a chamber event out at MD Anderson, that's out on I-10, that's very close to Katy. Okay. I work inside the city of Houston. So you notice here's my inside cities of Houston. I have this picture I took at BB Italia's because we're all on this side of town. They're all the places that we work. You'll notice here's the HCC building. So that when I say I work for HCC or work with HCC, here's a picture. So I validate all the locations that I am through pictures. This one I took at a chamber event at the Galleria. So if you start to look at all these pictures, you'll notice that they're all over downtown. They're me in places because I'm trying to let Google know where I am. And it is because they are taking the metadata off the pictures and deciding that is how you're not going to be able to screw with that. So as a result, they're using that to validate. So what I've learned is whenever I go to some place in the area that I service, I take a picture so that I can reinforce this is where I am. So even though I'm in Kingwood, and I talk about being in Kingwood, they understand that I do a lot of work in Houston because my pictures are all from in Houston on the west side. They're all all 610 West, all the way out to Highway 6. So I do a lot of picture taking just to work around Google. And in fact, I have a second office location that's on Woodway. That one there, let me see if I can. Let me see, I go here. If I go to the Woodway location, I just did this not too long ago because of COVID, I have not been out and about and around like I normally am. And I was like, I need to make sure that they know we're still here. So the other morning I was out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was getting to work, and I actually took a picture from the roof of the building and put it up there so that they knew, hey, I'm still at that. They know that this was taken at the Woodway location because of the location services on my phone. So this was taken at TechSpace. So there's lots of this was taken at HCC. So I do a lot of reinforcement of where I am simply by the pictures that I take and the pictures that I post. The other thing that you can do is encourage your own customers to post those pictures too, because they're looked at as being unbiased. So if somebody comes to my office and takes a picture and uploads it, and it's not through me, but through a third party, they're going to validate that even more. Basically, it's a way to help support where your business is located. So the more pictures that you can take and put on the Google My Business from the locations that you are around town, the more you're going to be. So what I would say is to the person that said, I have a service area, you can start to, well, see, this is the thing. Several of my services are offered online. Okay. And you notice I had online and offline. Okay. So you're saying I just marked online and offline, but for you, if you go to a networking event and take a picture with a customer or take a picture with somebody, go put it on Google My Business, because it's a way to reinforce where your business is located. You can't say that you're in Austin and only have pictures in Houston, because if you do, guess where they're going to think you are? Houston. So this is your way to do a service area. I understand you're doing the online ones and you can specify that, but I'm sure if you wanted to go out and you were going out to places, this is a way for you to work your service area and expand your service area, is the picture part. The other part of your question says, how do I designate that I do that? If you come down here where I just did the health and safety attributes, you see it's here, online appointments, on-site service. So I'm going to mark that I do both. Okay. You can say you just do online appointments, but the reality is they're going to say they want you to have a brick and mortar. So I would say I do both. That's what I would do if I were you, is I would say I do both. All right. Because I think it's important that we say that. Okay. I don't want them to say you really don't have a, they don't like home-based businesses. They're not, they don't have a good opinion of them. So that's why I want to make sure that they don't think you're just an online business, that they're not gonna rank you. So put both. Okay. Done, done, done. I got to check you all off as done, so I know none of yous are outstanding. Okay, so photos, very, very, very important because they help send a signal. Mostly what we do for Google is all about signals. So how you fill this out is extremely important. But now we're going to talk about reviews. Okay, the review section, everybody should be working and soliciting to get reviews from your customers about your business. And not only do you want them to do reviews, you want them to be very specific in what they say. And the reason they want you to, I want you to be specific is because they look at those keywords inside the review as a clue for what you do. So this one down here, where is it? I just saw it. Okay. This one here says Sarah is excellent. She answers questions. She, all this good stuff that she did, except it doesn't say what we do. So although Sarah was very appreciative that she got this review that said she's the best, this one does really nothing. It says not really knowing what we were doing with our webpage. It didn't say that we actually built it. You want your reviews to have information in there that talk about what you do very, very specifically. You don't want them to be devoid of keywords. So if you look at here, they've been using us for years for SEO and web design, because that tells Google what we do. Okay. This says, can I put my virtual address or do I have to put in my home address since my business is run from my home? Yeah. So Google is going to want to send a postcard out, and you don't have to include the address in the profile. You can just do a service area. I did one not too long ago for a photographer, and it worked out okay. So you can give them the address, let them to mail the card to your house, but then don't include the information here. Here for your actual address. Just don't fill that in for your storefront. Just leave that off. Okay. And then when you do that, you can leave, see, it says you can leave it empty if you don't have a location or a storefront, and then you can just do the service areas. All right. So it will work fine that way. What I will say is twofold. One is, if you go down the road of not having a physical address and only go to a service location, you're going to need to make sure that you do some things to make sure you reinforce that, because there's no proximity. And because they're using the proximity of the physical address, you're going to like have a little bit of a losing deficiency there to start with. So be careful with that. And then the other thing is, make sure if you're going to put your home address there and actually let it show that you're not going to have problems with your homeowners association, because you don't want them to come back and saying you're running a business out of your house. You know, I think a lot of people do that. But you know, you don't need that to be said. So this one says, is it a good idea to allow the public to see all the reviews? You don't have a choice to see all the reviews. And the answer is, you want them to see all of them. You don't, if anybody puts a review, you don't have a choice on what shows up and what doesn't. What I will say is, you want to answer every one of them. And if you have one that's bad, you write the reply to the person that's reading it, not to the person that complained. And what I mean when I say that is that how you answer the complaint shows the next person how you run your business. So I have a medical practice that we have that's an urgent care, and we get a lot of people that go in there for painkillers that are not legit, that they're like, they go doctor shopping. I don't know how else to put that politely. And we get bad reviews from that. So our response is, you know, hi, sorry that we didn't do what you needed us to do, but unfortunately we can't just arbitrarily write out pain medication prescriptions. You know, So the next person that reads that would say, oh, look, that person is complaining, but maybe they were trying to get something that they shouldn't have been trying to get. So just understand that when you write the reply, you're really writing the reply for the next one on the bad review. I actually am not opposed to anybody having a bad review either, because it does let people see how you do business. I mean, yes, it's nice to keep a 5-star rating, and that's awesome. But it is a way for people to see how you interact and what you do with things, and what the problems are that they may have with your business. When you go and you read some of the reviews on some things, you kind of, if you can tell whether they're real or not, it does give you an idea of if it's somebody you want to do business with. I will say that. So try to, I think, let's see. Let me do this. Let me see what this looks like these days. I always have to put the DDS in because there's an actress person in Scotland. Okay, so she's got like 90 reviews, but her staff does a great job trying to get them, ask people for them. We try to answer all of them. I think she's only gotten like one, like this one here. We didn't quite understand why they give us a 4-star instead of a 5-star on this one. But you see, they wrote the answer and put a nice reply in, and that was that. So I mean, I think there's one floating around in here that's not the best in the world. But usually when you get a bad review, it's probably on the other person's side. I think we all can relate that. If you have a business that has all bad reviews, that's fine, but you're not going to make all the people happy all the time. But the way you get these reviews written are important. So what I will tell you is I have asked them to go through and make sure when they ask their patients what they do, they explain. And you see here it says her dental hygienist and her front staff are awesome. So we have a hygiene appointment. This says great dentist. I tried to tell them and remind them to make sure that we get some type of keywords in the reviews and explain what was done and how it was done, as opposed to just saying Dr. Paul is nice. So see, I had a lot of dental work done when I was a kid. I don't like dentists. So if you notice, this is them asking for the reviews to kind of say like, look, we did my cleaning. If you notice, all these reviews are that way. Although one thing I'm going to say here is everybody keeps saying how great the staff is. So I think the staff is telling them to say how good they are. They must be booking for a raise or something, because every one of these seems to say the staff is great. Somewhere on here, everyone says the same thing. So, but I'm being funny as I say that, but it's just, it's unique that they're all saying the same thing. But if you notice, like this one, I've had Crown. See, they're doing a good job and trying to get the keywords written into the review. I did give them a script that said that they could send off to the email to email the clients when they ask for the reviews, things that say, please include the treatment that you received. This way. And if you notice here, we've got hygienist, we've got cleaning, we've got Crown, because they're able to pick up some of the words that we're using in a tag cloud. I do need to get them to do dentist more, because it's not here as much as I would like to see it. But if you look, you can see Google's kind of tracking the keywords here that are being used as well. So make sure that when you do this, that you solicit the reviews and that you get the reviews, you ask for them. And I'm going to tell you something. I've had it happen a couple times now, so I know this is not an anomaly per se. But I have several customers that open their business, put their website up. We built the website. It's live on the internet. We came in, we got the Google My Business, and from day one, they've been soliciting their reviews. And what's happening is that those businesses are ranking and people are finding them on Google because they've done just such a good job with the reviews and with the Google My Business that it's working for them. So for you guys, especially in this COVID day and age that everybody's struggling for business and trying to get things done and so on and so forth, I would say that one of the best things you could do is start to actively secure domains, or excuse me, reviews from customers to get the information and get that moving in the right direction. What else I will say is that I don't know where my Google My Business page went, but let me get back to that. Sorry about that. I ended up closing out of that for somehow. There is a review link in here that you can make sure that you give your customers that they can get right to there. So you see that says share review form. It gives you that URL. If you put that on your website, on your email, that will directly allow that to go right to your company's Google review page. So that's the address you want to give them. So if I go here, I go paste it in, you'll see what happens here. You see it pops up and it comes right up with my business, my location, and it gives them a box right there that they can publicly do the review right off the page. So you're making it really convenient for them based on the link that you're sending them and how you're doing it. So make sure that you hook this all up and that you go as far as to use that link and share that link and do everything that you want to do with that. So I've talked about Google My Business. We've talked about the reviews. Those two elements, the reviews themselves, the count, the sediment, how the owner responds. So that means I want you to make sure that you are responding to every one of these. All of that is weighted. And those are probably the two biggest factors. So Google My Business, name, address, phone number, keywords in your, the name, in your categories, all that kind of stuff. The Google reviews, again, what they say, keywords in that. Okay. I'm going to say proximity of the search is next, except that proximity to search, you can't really dictate. But what you can do is by behavior, broaden up how wide your net goes. And you're doing that through cell phone pictures because they have the location in the metadata. So don't go take your regular digital camera if you have one and start taking pictures because they don't always transmit the metadata once you take them off and do that. All right. I'm going to say also they talk about the physical address inside the city search. Again, Houston's a weird place because every place is Houston and it's 189 miles wide. I'll give you an example of something with this. One thing is that I have a guy that does mobile tire repair, and he goes from Conroe all the way to Pasadena. But he only goes on the left side of the city. So when we set his service area, we set his service area to go just to the left side of the city. He doesn't really go, he'll go to Kingwood, but he doesn't go all the way out to, I don't know, whatever the heck is down I-10 East these days. I haven't been that way in so long. I don't even know I could tell you a place, but he doesn't do that. So we only set him up to go where he went. But what he's doing is we're putting up pictures almost every day of where he's been. And then he has the review to support it that goes along with it. So when you do that, your rankings go up and your net goes wider just simply because you're demonstrating that you're in those areas. Says, how do you handle multiple locations? Do you have one separate, you have to open a separate account? No, let me go back over to this thing here. Let me see. With this one, I'll do it. Where did you go? Here we go. This one's not set up right. Hold on a minute. There's a very specific way to do that. Let me get in here and we'll do that. So these are all the people that are freestanding that either were set up wrong or they're freestanding. If you notice, there's a thing up here that's called ungrouped, which are all these people. And then there's these ones that are called grouped. And we put in both locations and then we group them together. So you would enter them both, but you group them as one business so that they don't think that you're trying to scam them or there's multiple. When we opened our second office, we let Google know that, hey, we still have the Kingwood office. We have the second office. We grouped them together. It's all the same business. We told them that we wanted them grouped together, and that's how we put them together. You can see I have this one here. This one has about 5 locations. If you see again, they're grouped together. They're not out running loose in the world somewhere. They're literally grouped together in one place so that Google understands what they are. So just understand that you have to use this group function. If you only have one place, leave them ungrouped. Okay. I have some down here that really should be grouped that aren't, and I'll have to at some point decide if I want to handle that or what I want to do with that. Okay. So yeah, you don't have separate accounts. You can put them all in the same account. You're just going to group them. You're just going to group them together. Okay. So, and make sure that you do that. All right. This one says, is there a recording? Yes, there'll be a recording of this. So we'll have that up either. It goes up on SCORE's website, and I actually put it on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll have it in both places. All right. So there's that. There's that. Okay. So we've talked about the interface for Google, but there's outside factors that they look at as well. Okay. And I'm going to start, even though this is a little bit lower on the priority poll, they look at this as well. They look at whether you're getting calls, whether you're not getting calls, whether you're getting, whether somebody's doing a search for you, whether they're direct typing your name in, whether it's a branded search. They're looking for all those type of things. For some reason, they have us as Android repair. I don't even really know why they would do that. But if you see, they're looking at what this is on a 1 month ring. Let me see if I pull it out to a quarter if it. All right. And I've not put a lot of time into the maps because I know I have this problem with Kingwood and Houston. So I've kind of not put as much time and effort into it as I should. But so you see that they have there, they give you a tracking on the queries that people are looking for. People are looking for whatever they're looking at. And then here's what else they're looking for is, are people looking at the maps for where you are on a map? Are they looking in search? And do they actually call you off of this? Okay, so they're looking for, do we get phone calls? Do we get, I mean, most people call my cell phone, so they don't use this to call me, I guess. But they look at all of this traction to make sure that we're a live business. And the other thing they're doing is they're saying, do people message you off of this? And yes, people have messaged me off of this. So it's showing that people are trying to interact with the business. So this is an important thing that they're looking at this to see whether the behavior supports you being a real business or not. Okay. And again, I guess I do myself a disservice because like I said, everybody ends up calling my cell phone all the time. So it's like nobody uses Google. They just pass go and collect $200. So maybe I need you all to use Google and call off Google to call me. But that's that behavior with it. That's like, they call that like the engagement on those local listings. I also don't come up a lot. So on the local. So as a result, I don't have a lot of, again, because I've got this weird address problem I've got this address and we're actually, we do business on the west side of town. So if people Google me on the west side of town, most times we don't show up. So anyway, that's a whole other story on its side. So make sure you know that that's going on. The next thing is that they're looking for is they're looking for what they call citations, and what the citations are is directories, Chamber of Commerce, Better Business Bureau. There's hundreds of different directories that a website should be linked to and from. And let me do it this way. I think this should work. Okay, so this one here, what we did on this one is this one has, I'm trying to find them all. Let me see if I can do it this way. So you see that has a BBB. It's got a Yahoo Answers one. It's got, a lot of them aren't showing up as much as I would have thought they would have. I don't know why. Maybe it's under telereach. I have a service on this that gave it a pile of citations. That's why and I didn't think there was enough of them for them to, this one, maybe the one I have it on. Yeah. Okay. So there is like Yellow Pages would be one. You see the BBB again. If you start to come down here, there's all these different websites that are aggregator sites. US Business Directory Online is one. There should be one that's like Chamber of Commerce of the United States of America. There's like a whole pile of these different aggregator domains. They show up and they give you some credit. One would be, I'm going to say Town Hall, but that's not really what I mean. But there's a whole pile of them. There's about 140 of them that come off that you can get some citation credit for. I'm going to look here on my own too. See, Yellow Pages would be one. Local Yahoo is one. That's one. So if you start to look down this, there's American Towns is one. There's if I start to look through this, you'll start to see like a whole pile of different places on here. So what I would say to you is make sure you get as many citations as you possibly can. The question is going to be, how do I do that? There's aggregation. What is an aggregator? There's what they are. Let's kind of, I guess that's a good question. What is an aggregator? They are, let's go back in time. I can't see how old any of you are, but there was a time in this country that we had a thing called the phone book. And what happened is, there originally was just Bell Telephone Company, and they broke it out into Baby Bells, and each of those Baby Bells had their own set of database of who the users were in that Baby Bell. So our Baby Bell here in Houston is SBC Global, okay, Southwestern Bell. And those aggregators push information out to all these websites around the country that talk about where your business is located, what its address is, what its phone number is. And those aggregators need to have the right information on them. But what else they do is give you backlinks from citations. So you want to make sure that you go through and make sure that these aggregators are correct. And I guess the question is going to become, how do you check? And I'll give you, I have a tool. I own this other website over here too. I actually have a tool. I need to actually put it on SEO 411. But if you come to this website, you go to local search. Let me go here. It says check if you're how your business appears. And let's do this one. SEO 411. 45. So when I put that information in, it comes up with a whole bunch of aggregators. And you'll start to see, now you'll see mine has a power listing on it to force this in, but you'll see a list of them. So it's Foursquare, Yelp, City Search, local database, Yellow Pages, Merchant Circle. There is about 140 of these things total. It gave us a short listing because I already have a power listing on this. Okay. And it's only giving me the ones that I need to see, but because I have this, I have links to my website from all these places that point back to my website that help me show Google where I am. And the more consistent these aggregators are, like the Yellow Pages, like Yelp, Facebook's on the aggregation list. Bing is on the aggregation list. And as much as I'm talking about Google tonight, you need to make sure that you set up the Bing side of this as well, just so that you have that in there and we're not just talking Google. But you should go through. So when you have them all, it gives you all the, if I didn't have, I don't think I can think of somebody that doesn't have a power listing on it. But because let me see my listings are synced on this second one. I've already told Google and all the aggregation sites that that's the information that I want published for SEO 411. So I actually am forcing that into the system that way. This gets a little tricky, but you need to make sure that you have listings in each one of these. And they're things like Dex Knows and all these websites that have been around for a long time. What's interesting is, before it decided I had a power listing, somebody like Yahoo was on that list. You can't fix your Yahoo listing anymore manually. There's no external way to get in the Yahoo database and correct it anymore. So in order to do it, you need to force it through a service like this that pushes it in and gets it to where it needs to be. So there's a couple different ways to look at this. If you just are doing it for a citation, that's one service level. If you're doing it because you need to get the address corrected because there's a lot of things wrong with your address, meaning that let me see if this one, I don't think this one has it. Hold on, ACTWD 4582 Kingwood Drive. Kingwood 77345. 281 3852. This one may not have it. 8253. Yeah, you see this one looking at Google, it's looking at Yahoo, it's looking at Bing, it's like, look at them all. And I think this one doesn't have a suppression service on it. So as a result, nope, this one has it too. So it's going to pull some of these down as well. But you start to see it's snapping. So some of them it gives you a list of all of them. See, the only thing it can complain about is reviews, because everything else is synced and working right. So you got to try it. If you don't have suppression service, it'll give you a different set of listings than what mine is. Mine are doing this because of I've got suppression on here to make sure everything's consistent across the internet. And you can see this one pulled up in a few more places than the other one. But I get listings, I get links back from all these places. So that's one set of, the citations are important. The other thing I get citations from is Chamber of Commerce membership, Better Business Bureau membership, any professional organization I belong to. So if you're with the builders and you get a listing from the builders or the realtors or HAR or any of that, those, again, what they do is establish your relationship with the community and show that you have a footprint in the community. Another thing that you could do is kind of get some localized backlinks by, if you give money to your kid's swim team, and they'll give you a link from the swim team. These are all signals to Google that you need to have, so they point back to you, because what they're looking for is database, the directories rather, and your consistency within them, the directories, and in the consistency in the data aggregators. Now, what I will say for this too is this power listing overrides and trumps out anything else I have. So this is what it has. It says that I have it right. Let me see if it'll, that's just going to take me to where you can sign up for it. I don't want that. See, this one is, I was hoping it would give me something different, but it's not going to do that because this is what it's synced the listing to be. So all my listings on this are specifically this. So you just need to make sure that's uniform. And if it's not, there's a couple benefits. One is it fixes bad addresses, but the other things that it'll do is also help with the citation side of it all. So there's a lot of benefits to having a service like this. It's just like why one of those things, like I say, I got to move it over to SEO 411. I never actually put it there, and I probably need to. So that's another one. Let's see. All right. So the next part of this starts to be about what you do on your website that helps back this all up. So if I come back to the SEO 411 website, you'll start to see what I did all over this website that starts to back up what I say. All right, so done. So, not sure why this page is not loading on me. Let me see if I close that. It's going to stop screen sharing just for a second. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 minute. I think I'm having a little bit of internet issues here.
While you're doing that, I'll put the the link to the newsletter that I posted earlier, so that if any of you want to follow up on getting prepared to apply for the business plan competition, you can do that. And then you can call us if you have any questions. Put our phone number in there for the Center for Entrepreneurship as well. There we go.
It's giving me a minute. This is giving me some trouble, and I don't really know why. I don't like when things don't work right. I think it's my computer having some trouble here, but I want to kind of go through. All right. So I want to take a minute and kind of go through this here a second. Let me resume. Stop sharing. And then I'm going to start sharing again because I need to change the window. All right, so I'm going to use this here for a second to show you what I did. All right, because this one is working really pretty well. All right, so when you come here, you'll notice I have the word Houston's really big sitting on the web page. What I'm doing is I am putting in information for Google. When I code these pages up, I am coding them with where I want in the areas that I want to be in. So if you start to look through these pages, you'll start to see that I'm sending them signals about, and you start to read the text, you'll see best customer experience in Houston. We are mentioning and doing, saying things that help them understand where we are, what we do, and how we do it. The other thing we do is make sure that we have it in the footer of the website, we have an address. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have that there as well, because these are things that help set the dynamics up for what we need to do. For some reason, it dumped all of this, like I hadn't answered them. I don't know what it's doing. Sorry about that. The questions and answers are giving me trouble here a second. But if you notice that we have elements within the page that I am trying to tell Google what we do. And if you see up here in my title tag, so when I put a web page together, every page I put together starts to focus and push towards where the business is located, because Google's looking for that validation on the website. If you're not actually there, it's a problem. And I think that's becomes the issue with this, is because if you don't back it up on the site, you have a problem. If you try to do too much, which I've seen people do over the top stuff to try to get listed on things, well, they know that's a scam, and they'll kind of ban you for that kind of stuff. So I want you to make sure that you build the website and you put them in here, and you put them in right, but then you do it in a way that you make sure that you have your keywords and your page and your location and everything that talks about where you are and what you do. So you'll notice this one's got it here in the title, in the title tag. It's got it throughout it. If I look at Dr. Paul's site, DOTHYBAULDDS.com, did I not? I'm having such trouble with my computer tonight. I'm not really sure why. I think it's because I've not been here, so it's having a whatever. Okay, you'll notice my title tag says Best Houston Dentist. And then I've got dentist, cosmetic dentist, general dentist. I've got them all. And then I went back, and at the end I tagged in West Houston. I don't know if I move my mouse, you may not be able to see it, but you see how I have Best Houston and then I have West Houston, because that's actually a place, even though it's not really a place, it's kind of a place all at the same time. I made sure that those local elements are in my page. If you notice here with this paragraph here, in dental services for Houston, about our office, we serve Houston. If you notice, I'm being repetitive in everything I say. It's because what I'm doing is I'm optimizing the page for what we do, where we are, and what we say. May you post the optimization location website within the listing of the aggregator site? I don't understand that question, Frank. It says, may you post the optimization location website with the, oh, okay, I got you. I understand what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to put that in the chat window. I got you. I understand. Okay, it took me a minute. Let's see, where might the chat window be? I don't know where the chat window went. When I find it, I'll put it there, okay? I don't know where it went right now. It seems to have vanished. But I'll put it there for you. What it is it's ACTWD, so Apple Charles Thomas William David.com. But as soon as I find a chat window, I'll stick it in for you. But if you notice back,
Beth, and I'll put it in.
It's ACTWD, Sandra. I can't see where to type it. I don't seem to have a chat window all of a sudden.
ACTWD, is that it? Or
yeah,
something else?
.com. Yeah, .com.
Okay. It's in there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then you see, if we come over here, we have looking new to West Houston. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that we're actually utilizing the location within the pages so that we have a way to signal Google where we are. So Houston Dentist FAQ. So you notice I have it again, big and bold, Houston. So all throughout this page, Houston's laced all the way through it, so that this thing starts to, so Google starts to understand that this dental practice is in Houston. If you don't do that right, it becomes a really big problem. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have all these elements, especially in these header tags, that say where you are. Now, in the old days, you may have seen somebody go in and type Houston Heights, let's see, Pasadena, Woodlands, Deer Park, Galena Park, and put all these crazy locations in a website. Please don't do that. That will get you pretty much probably blacklisted at this point in time. Now, what some people say to me is, well, my competitor's done it. And then I go look at the competitor's website, and the competitor's website is like 150 years old, and Google hasn't scanned it in a really long time. So as a result, what ends up happening is they don't know that those old tactics are there. So it's a case of you, if you make a change or do something, you need to do up to the normal standards. It's often sometimes why I tell people, oh, you're ranking on that term, let's not change that page, because I know if I change the page, I'm going to lose the rankings just because the page shouldn't have ranked in the first place. So let me just say that about that. But so there's a lot of these on-page elements. So the most of it is the title tags and the H1, H2 tags, meaning these big ones here. We also have the actual words and have it enforced in the page as well. So, and then we do it throughout the website. So as you go into other pages, you'll end up having other pages will have, the Houston word put in it throughout the website as well. So just know that all your pages need to have it reinforced. It needs to be in the footer. It's looking for it in the headers of the website, especially on the homepage. And that you want to try to do it throughout the website as much as you possibly can without going overboard. And it's the without going overboard that I think is sometimes a big problem. The other thing that they're going to be looking for, again, is some user behavior. Does people click on you? Do they stay? Do they use your website? What do they do when they do that? Now, I was reading an article a little bit earlier today, and there was a question that somebody kind of put out there. And I thought it was an interesting question, and I want to kind of pose it to you guys. Again, it would be a little bit easier if we were all in the same room together, but and I don't even know whether you guys can all kind of answer on this or not. But there's a sentiment within the community that Google is creating basically its own homepage for your business within that rankings. So when I go and I Google my company, and I'm going to just do that right now so we can see what I mean. When you Google my company, you really have no reason to go to my website per se, because they've given you all this information about my website right here. How do I get there? How do I call you? What kind of reviews do I have? What are our hours of our business? What are the reviews about? And then the other thing that they give you is these updates, these Google posts. So even my blog posts, I'm saving them from actually having to come to the website per se, because I'm using these in these posts and these snippets here right out of the box. So they are taking away little by little my ability to get you to come directly to my website. So just understand that your preference here and your appearance here is going to really, really start to push who you are, what you are, where you're going, and how you get there based on what is actually happening with boots on the ground. The other thing is somebody was saying about categories, and I was saying categories too. I want to emphasize how important those categories actually are. They're a very, very important part of this. So, and if they're not right, that's going to determine a lot of this as well. So I want to touch on that. And actually, the other thing I want to touch on is how's the best way to go and get citations. Because I think without them, you're really kind of in trouble. the best way to do that is to kind of come up with the best set of professional areas in your neighborhood, in your area. So if I am, and if you Google this, you'll find out some of it, but let's say I'm a florist, right? Well, there's like, if I look at a florist, like Yelp is a top place I should have a listing. Find a Florist should be one I have. Yellow Pages should be one. Local Yahoo should be one. Pro Florist. Do I have a reference on that? Uh, there's several other. Flower Shop at Home Network, 1-800-Flowers. A lot of those, and they sound like, some of them sound like they should be paid for, but that's not really case. For somebody like me that does internet marketing, I will tell you that I needed to make sure that I had one from a place called Up City. So even though I don't pay Up City, I needed to make sure that I had a listing from them as well as all these others, because what I find is that if other people have them, I should have them too. Okay, so and what I mean by that is I go through my competitors and go find out what the links are that I should have. And I will say this, I don't like the Better Business Bureau for a lot of reasons, because I don't really think they're there. They're more for the consumer than they are for the business, even though the business is their customer. But a link from them validates your business. I think that you can do some of what I'm saying too with Chamber of Commerce memberships. There's at least 2 chambers. Actually, I'm going to say 3 if I include the Woodlands. But there's 2 in Houston that work real well for this purpose. And the Woodlands also will work, because what they do is they validate from a citation level where you are and what you're doing and how to get there. So just know that you need to figure out what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then how others are doing it. So how others are doing it is an interesting thing. So I can go, I have a tool. Let me see if I can do this here. I keep having to change my screen. Sorry about that. Oh, where'd the little bar go?
Someone's asking about the chambers that you're mentioning. Which ones?
I don't even see that question.
It's in the chat.
Oh, the thing that I can't find. Good job, Sandra. I can't even find it. All right. Oh, 2 chambers, Houston West. So it's HWCOC. And then the Houston Northwest does a good job, plus the Woodlands. You don't ever have to go to those chamber events if you don't want, but it's well worth joining just to have the interaction with them.
I know. I can also say that the Houston West Chamber has been great at sponsoring the business plan competition. So every team that completes the business plan competition gets 6 months of free membership to the Houston West Chamber. They've been great partners of the Center for Entrepreneurship for years and years and years.
Yes, and they're great people. So that's another whole aspect of this. But I can't make this come up right. Hold on. Let me close it and see if it'll do it again. I think the problem's operator error this evening. I think I'm having operator problems. Let me see. Share screen. There we go. So if I go here, I have a little tool. And this is not a free tool, but if you really were going to pursue this really hard and you wanted to go down this road, I would do something like this. I would come here. I would go to Google and I would go Houston SEO. And I would pick this guy right here. And I'd get his website address. and I'd copy it, and I'd come here and I'd go put them in here, and I'd search it. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell me he's got 420 places his website's listed. And I'm going to look down it. I'm going to sort it from highest to lowest. And I'm going to go look down it, and I'm going to see where I can find something that is an aggregator that I don't have. So you see, I have Yellow Pages. I have local Yellow Pages. I have a MapQuest. Although MapQuest is not coming up for me, but you remember I was to expertise. I need to go look at expertise. I don't have one for them. So I need to go look there and see. I have one for Clutch. I have one for EpCity. I need to go look at VP Web and go find out what I need to go do on that one. I need to go down each and every one of these that are similar to what I do and go see what I can get from them and see if I can go get them. And that if I can get them, that will add to my base. It's a pain in the neck to do all of this, but it's well worth it because it starts to get you to where you've got some input, like this one here. This one says legal listings, business services, more to get listed. I'd go pick get listed and see what I got to do to get reviewed by expertise. What do I got to do this? And what is the cost on it? Is there a cost for it? No, I may do this later and see what it's going to take me to do. Is your business already listed? No. Business name. I might just go right through this. 10 years. And see if I can't get the listing here. And see what it would take to do this. Because I think that would be one that I would pick right up on and say that I don't have this one. And let's see what we've got to do to get it. And now they're going to want these links, so I can't go do all this. But I'm going to go right on down this and see what I can do. And that would be, I picked that one right off the list because that was one I saw that that I know I didn't do, but I can tell you right now that that's someplace that I probably want to be. And I'm going to go do this 490 times and see what I can go pick up on and what I can't pick up on. Like this Warrior Forum, I probably will not be able to get a listing in Warrior Forum. And you know what he did? He went and bought a website called Designed by Newton and pointed it to himself. That's how he got that link. So that's how he got a link out of here, is he went and bought a domain so that he could take the domain and point it to himself. And I've done that as well. So I've websites that I've had abandoned that had some value. We've done it multiple times over. So so that's how he grabbed that one. There's lots of them here that I'm going to go down. And I know this sounds like you guys are probably thinking, oh God, how would I do this? But just like I'm doing myself, is I'm looking at everyone and seeing what I can do, if I can get it, and if it's worth me. The higher the value of the domain, the more likely and the better it is for you to do it. So this is an important part of all of this. Okay, it says, how do you deal with malicious reviews from anonymous people who are out to bring your business down? Can you turn off reviews? No, you can't turn off your reviews. So let's start there. So who are these people that are trying to bring your business down or cause you a problem? Do we know who they are or what's happening there? Do we have any ideas on that? Did you make somebody mad? Usually when I see something like that, there's an impetus to that, but I mean, you can start reporting them to Google as you see them. You are able to do all of that. So that's a big deal. So, but it's not, and actually, if they're not real, you can just go up against them too and go, this person doesn't work for me. This person is not on my customer list. I had that happen at another business, and we went, our answer back was somebody was a fired employee and they tried to go after one of our customers. And we went out and our answer was, hi, we show that you used to work for us and you are not a valid employee. I mean, we didn't say we were quit. We didn't say we fired them. We didn't say anything other than we think you used to work here. So, all right. So the next one says, for a company in 2 different countries, you must have 2 pages being Spanish. Okay. Google Local doesn't go to a different country. They're like in the United States. For a company at 2 different countries. So I have a company that has 2 different countries, and what we are doing with them, because Google doesn't necessarily recognize .com in different countries, you can get to it, but they're gonna. So if I'm in Germany, they're going to give a preference to a .de domain long before they're ever going to give preference to a .com domain. So international strategies become different. If you're talking the difference between here and Mexico, that's a little bit different. They give some deference for Spanish here in Houston because they understand that we have a large Spanish-speaking population. So if the search is performed in Spanish, they will often return Spanish results, even though they're here in Houston. We used to do this with lawyers quite a bit. When you put in Obrigado, Houston, you're going to get Spanish listings for lawyers that are in Houston. So that's a tricky question because it depends on really, there's like a lot of ins and outs in that question, and I would need a little bit more information to be able to understand like the full in and out of that. But if you wanted to put Spanish on your website, I'm fine with that. But I don't know that it's necessarily a localization thing unless you're like a lawyer or an accountant or doing something like that from that standpoint. So that question's too vague for me to answer all of that in one shot. Okay, so let me see what the next question is. This is from my friend Sally, and it says, if you limit competition in Houston area, would it spread out to similar businesses in Texas? All right, I know what you do, so this makes my question easier to answer. You have a really narrow niche, so just like I'm going to use an art foundry, a sculpting foundry, because there's not many of those. I would not be, if I was deep in the heart, I would not be limiting myself to how I did that. So you're not pigeonholing yourself in the Houston area by doing what I'm saying to do because you have a niche that goes out beyond that. If that's what I think you're asking me. We can pull large geographic region because you happen to be the only glass blower around. There's not like a lot of you out there. So your path is a lot easier. For me, from an SEO standpoint, I have to be careful what I do because I don't want to just pigeonhole myself with web hosting in Houston because that's a national term. So it becomes it becomes tricky based on what industry, but for you, you're not limiting yourself. And I think that you can spread out to all of Texas if you want and not have any kind of problem because you have such a niche. And I go to deep in the heart just because it's like kind of like the same kind of thing. All right. So Suha says, I am an insurance agent with an office in Sugarland, but I am licensed in other states. Is there a way to capture the leads in those other states? Yes, of course there is. Now, what I'm going to assume that you are doing is like life and maybe health in other states, or long-term care in other states, or Medicare in other states. So on those broader topics, you would need to be more in the expert realm Most people are going to buy car insurance, and this is the way Google looks at it. Most people are going to buy car insurance locally. They're not necessarily going to go out way past wherever they live to do that unless they buy it online. So with you, you can go on the things that you do on other states. You can go out broader from them and not pigeonhole them in. It is a little bit difficult of a lift. Like if I was going to say I wanted to sell long-term care insurance, I would build a website on long-term care insurance, and I would not tie it to I'm a local insurance agent in Sugar Land. Those two things would never appear in the same sentence to me. So I would have a site that just did the stuff that I could do separately, so I didn't get buttonholed back to these other things. So what other insurances do you sell? Is it long-term care, Medicare, that kind of stuff? Or I don't know if you can answer me or not. Let's see. You do it all. Okay. Yeah. So those broader senior health circumstances, I might be tempted to go bust them out on their own site so they don't get tangled up in the Sugarland office. That would be one way to handle it. The other thing is to make sure that you silo your Sugarland site right so that you don't inadvertently signal that the Medicare and long-term care are only local to Sugarland. So it would be all in how you kind of put the site together. The reason I say I would have my own long-term care site is because I had done it years ago for somebody, and I ended up having a much better success rate with the standalone site than I ever did to try to add it to their existing local agency website, because that it was very apparent it was a local agency website. So I'd be inclined to have a senior service or whatever you do outside of that. And that would be a strategy. I think that becomes a strategy on which way you want to go with that. That's a discussion rather than a question, if you will. So, and Miss Sally, I guess I got my question right based on your thanks. So I think that I got what you were asking me right. Okay, so who else has got questions here? Okay, got it. Thanks for that's okay, good. All right, so that was good. All right, so does anybody else have some questions here on what we're talking about tonight? Let me see what else I have missed. I'm trying to think of one thing that I didn't talk about that I guess I want to. I kind of jumped to the middle of this. And I probably should have said this in the beginning, but Google went through what seems to me to be not so long ago, but really in hindsight, it's 7 years ago now. They went through in November of 2013 and made a list of all the words in the world that they thought they knew the meaning of. So, like if I'm talking about a painter, they assume I mean a house painter. I don't mean Monet. So they make that assumption. Whether that's right or wrong for them to do that, that's a whole nother story, but they make that assumption. They have done that on multiple words, and they have because these algorithms are different based on whether you want to rank in the organic listings or you want to rank in the maps. You really need to understand the search terms that you're looking for to know whether something's a local search or not. So if I do this, if there's no map here, well, there is a map here. They don't really consider web hosting to be a localized term. And if you look, we've got Tech Radar, I got Bluehost, I've got GoDaddy, long before I ever present a local map. And what's interesting is somehow I have Chewy.com. I don't even understand what I'm looking at. It doesn't really even make sense. But if you notice, I have all national people even though they're trying to say that this is a localized search. And if you look here, this is my other company right here. Here I am sitting on a local search, but people are going to pick GoDaddy or Bluehost long before you just need to know what they perceive that to be. So you make sure you come up with the right strategy for it, because if you don't understand what you're looking for, and what you're looking, and what they're looking for, you have to meet what they're looking for, not what you think. And I think that's a hard concept sometimes for everybody to understand, is that if I want to rank on something, I better go meet Google's criteria for what I need to do, as opposed to doing what I think is right and then coming back and see if it works. Because 9 times out of 10, you have to meet their criteria. And whether I think I often have this discussion with people because they're like, well, this is what I think. And the problem is, it's great that's what you think, but that's not what Google thinks. So it doesn't really matter what you think. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but this is their world and we just live in it. And if you want to dictate, their attitude is go place an ad. That's how they view it. So just understand that you need to go take the keyword, look it up. And I'm going to, Sally, I see your question, but let me just do this. I'm going to just put in this. Okay. And I'm not going to put in the word Houston, but they immediately thought I meant it's a Houston search. You notice that when I put in glass blowing, I immediately get local businesses only. All right. If I put in, see, they keep trying to localize everything. I'm trying to think anything that I'm looking for. Oh, I know a better way to explain this to you. If I put how to pick a web hosting company, you notice there's no map, because they look at that as informational, that you're not looking for a destination, but you're looking for information. So you have to understand, I would be more apt to go write a page that says how to pick a web hosting company than I would to try to go rank on web hosting, because the how to rank on web hosting is much harder than how to pick a web hosting company. So I have to have that strategy and those thoughts in my head with every single concept of what I do. And I have to understand, I had a company the other day that said, we were talking about marine, meaning boating, except they were putting it with defense. So if I say defense, Army, Navy, Marine, they weren't meaning as boats. They were meaning it as the Google would have taken it as the Marines, you know, the little soldier people, Semper Fi people. Okay. So I have to know what I'm doing and what I pack around something for them to understand. So Sally asked me, when I mentioned the importance of categories, can I talk about that? So for you, you do glass blowing, you're a gallery, you have a showroom, you do customized work, you do customized artwork, and I'm sure you do we talked about this, customized fabrication. So all of that should be, you should be a fabricator, you can be an artist, you can be a glass blower, all of this. What you aren't is a painter. So you wouldn't put, I do painting, because your art is glass blowing. So that becomes that you need to make sure that you get your categories right and you don't overshoot. So like, let me see if I can pull this up here. I don't know where I'm going to find it on short notice. Like I have a list of some of the words that I like, the categories for certain professions. And when I do that and I put that out there, I know that if, like, I keep coming back to a lawyer, because not only are you a lawyer, not only you're attorney, you're also a divorce lawyer. You also might be a child custody lawyer. You might be a family lawyer. You might be a probate lawyer. I still haven't left that practice that does family law. Okay. And I could do the same if I came down to like a criminal lawyer and go through that. So each one of these has their own set of categories in it. But if I'm a family lawyer and I don't do business law, I shouldn't put business law on there because I don't do it. And Google's going to get me too separated and screwed up. So I need to make sure that I get the right set of things going on there with that when I do that. Okay, so this is where this gets a little bit tricky, and I don't mean it to be. But you got to just make sure you get it right. And then it says, how about blogging? Does SEO affect it as well? Well, that question's just a little backwards. Blogging affects SEO. The better blogger you are, the better SEO you have. And we'll do some blogging classes after the first of the year. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a what do I need to do in 2021? Because we're going to have a rough road to hoe in the beginning of 2021. I almost guarantee every small business owner is going to have a hard road. And we better start talking about it now so everybody can get on the right path before it gets here in May. So, but blogging is the root blood of SEO. So it's not, how does SEO affect it? It affects SEO. If you don't blog and you don't blog right, it's one of those things that's going to just kill you. A good example in this local discussion is sometimes when I write, I did this the night of Harvey. I was sitting in my chair and people started calling me with questions. And the questions were, what can I do to help my business while this was going on? And what was interesting to me was a few things. One is everybody was using social media to try to find each other and get everybody out of the water. And the people that were calling me, they were like, well, what can we do? We actually dispatched people with trucks out and put them where people's cameras were. So the brands were on. It's kind of what Mattress Mac does. I mean, I know he helps everybody, but if you ever notice, he has a Gallery Furniture shirt on every time he does something, or he has a Gallery Furniture truck in the background. Somewhere, somehow, that man is part of Gallery Furniture, because that's just good marketing. So I ended up putting a post up that talked about how social media and what it did when it talked about Hurricane Harvey. But because I localized that post, it gave me a real kick in the pants for my local Houston stuff, because that blog was based on a Houston event. It was put up during that Houston event and it talked about it. So I just try to localize. If you can localize things, localize them if you're a local business. If you're not a local business, don't localize them. Or if that part of your business is not local, don't localize them. So this starts to get to be a interesting little problem there. But so this says, how do you have to post your blogs for them to work in SEO? Do you have to post your blogs for them to work? Yes, you have to post your blogs. You mean you post them on your website? You need to put them on your website. And then I would actually take them and add them to the post section on Google My Business. So if you look, not here. If I look, what am I want to try to do? SEO 411. All right, so if you look here, you'll notice I have all the posts here that we've put up, and it just lists them all here. And every post I put up on the internet, I list here, so it shows up right. So yes, you need to put the blog on the internet, and then you do need to post it out on social media if that's what you're asking me. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me or not, but if that is what you're asking me, yes, that's what we need to do. So anyway, so that's that set of questions. Anybody have any other questions? Because we're almost like to the posting on the website, but not visible from there. No, you want them to be visible. Why would we want them to be invisible? I'm missing something here. You want them to be posted on your website, and you want them to be visible. And you want your website to be the hub for everything. So I'm waiting to see if you have something else to say here, but okay, I guess I got that. Yeah, you want it posted. So okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions this evening before we wrap up? Because we're right at the end. Sandra, if you have anything else to add, now would be the time to add it. Thank you for joining in today's Internet Marketing Clinic. We hope you enjoyed our program, and we will have more marketing information for you next week. Be sure to tune in.